Hoi hoi, welcome to Transfixed, the channel that is on track, that is all the rage. But puns aside, tonight we're going to try to transfix Trax or Road Rage. Now Trax came out in the Earthrise line, and Road Rage here was in the Kingdom line. And I passed over Trax, but I did pick up Road Rage here because she's on the back of the box. Yeah, so that's why I wanted a representation of her and don't have one yet. Now, as most people know, the problem with this mold is the little tab on the leg here, so we're going to try and fix it. It's not a bad mold. I actually quite like it. It's a little fragile and a little finicky. Great alt mode, though. In fact, it's I'd say it's about on par with the official Masterpiece version. Well, this is a knockoff of the Masterpiece version, but they all have the same problem in the design, where it's kind of it's not very stable and sturdy. So, but it does borrow the transformation. It's got the same sort of leg transformation. But the back is a lot more sturdy and stable, I think. But the clear plastic worries some people. But anyway, the main problem with this mold that most people know about is this little tab. So when you transform the leg, this outside part has to flip all the way around, and the foot actually goes right up over the hip. And all it has to secure it in place is this little slot here that goes into the tab on the side of the leg, which is a very small tab. Let me get this box out of the way. Just thought I'd show it since I had it handy. But yeah, this little tab here is that's it. It's just this piece right here. Now, one option to correct this is 3D printing. So there's a few pieces available. You can get a model from Thingiverse, or you can order a piece from some sellers on eBay that actually clips onto the back. So this part here opens up from the inside. You can clip a piece onto the back here, which has a larger tab on the side. But those cost money, and I'm cheap. I thought I'd try my own little fix here. I'm going to try to put something here. Now, there could have been a different approach. You know, they could have had a tab over here or some interlocking bits. The way this works, though, I thought I'll just keep it the same. Then I don't want to modify this part of the leg. I just want to modify this. Now, if I could make this tab larger, and I was thinking about how to build it up, what I'm going to try to do is actually drill a little hole in here, or two holes maybe, and put a little piece of wire, or maybe I might cut a piece of a spring or a paper clip and glue it into here, and just to give it something more to bite onto. And the reason why it's half transformed this way is because I wanted to make sure that that's going to work in alt mode, right? So there's the tab when it's in the car mode, and it is kind of next to the wheel, but there's room in there. And let me open this up. It looks like it's just touching the side of the car, though, because this is actually notched out here for that tab to fit, right? So I might have to trim this piece away to accommodate whatever I'm going to be sticking on here, but I think that'll fit. I can cut that. That's not a problem. There's still plenty of plastic for the wheel to be locked into. Now I might take this off of the mushroom peg so that it's easier to work with, but I don't know if I really want to mess around with that mushroom peg and risk breaking this toy. So I think I'll just try to do it as is. I don't think I can show this on camera because having the Dremel on camera just doesn't seem to work. These could work too. I forgot I had this styrene plastic, so I could cut two little pieces like this and super glue it on. Or I want to use metal. I could use this old X-Acto knife blade and cut these two thin pieces out. And then I'd have to insert it into the leg cover. So I'll try a few different options and see which works best. You could also use this type of two-part epoxy sculpting clay. That might work as well. I think I'm going to go with the plastic. I tried starting with this metal piece, but when I cut it, it just snapped off rather than cutting, because this is actually more brittle than I expected. So I don't really want to work with that. This styrene, I'm hoping is going to be strong enough. I think with a bit of this and our good old crutch and friend Super Glue Gold Plus, we could probably just glue a little tab on there. Now, I just went ahead and used these sprue cutters to snip off a piece. You're supposed to use a hobby knife and score it and then snap it, but this piece is so small. Here you can see where I've made a score, and you could snap this. But the piece I need is so small, I decided to just cut it and then clean it up with the knife. I try to make a little piece like this, which I can then cut in half to have two tabs. This is from a pack of Evergreen plastic that I got off of Amazon some time ago, which is just a sheet styrene. This is just a mixed pack of odds and ends. It comes in all different shapes and sizes. So if that's available to you, I think that will be a good option. Then that way we don't actually have to do any drilling or cutting. So we want a piece that's going to fit into this slot. So after I cut it, it was too thick, so I just sliced it down again, and we can make sure it does fit in there. And then what I'm going to do is just to get a pencil and just mark how deep that goes in. So now I know how much plastic I need to keep. And then we're just going to glue it onto this nub right here. So I mentioned the wheel clearance here. I cut this away. So this is on a mushroom peg. You want to be careful with these kind of, since we can access the back, it's nice. You can kind of push this together as you pop it out. So that way you don't break these. And then just cut this piece out that I was talking about before. That was, can I show it here? That little notch there. So I just made that larger. And yes, of course, be careful when you're cutting. I usually joke around about the safety and say cut towards yourself, getting some comments on my videos about that being dangerous. Now, I know the demographics of my channel are pretty much 99% 40-something males like myself, so you should know how to cut safely by now. I don't think a lot of kids watch this. I mean, we've been taught knife safety since kindergarten, so I think you all know how to be safe with a knife. I trust you do. But if not, of course, try to cut away from yourself and be safe. I guess I can show this other side now for comparison. Why don't I put down the knife as I'm fiddling around with this? That might be a good idea too. You can also heat this up. That might help. Shouldn't be necessary though. Alright, so there is the uncut one. And here is the Jewish one. Circumcision joke. So I'm just going to make some clearance because I know I'm going to need it later. Alright, so I'm going to cut that little piece and glue it on. That part I cannot do on camera, so we'll see how it looks once it's glued on. Whoa, what a mess. Well, that didn't work out so well. I did glue two of the little tabs on here. One here and one on the other side. And I gave them a little wiggle test, just a gentle wiggle like a loose tooth, and it seemed to be okay, but of course it was too big, right? Because remember I measured for the whole depth, and of course you've got to get the fender around that tab. There's not enough flex here to get it very far, and I realized that after I glued on the first one, so I made this one smaller, but I think this one's going to be too big as well. You really can pry. Yeah, it's got to be cut down quite a bit, maybe just to a millimeter. But when I went to use these spruce nippers to snip it, it was fine for one nip, and then the next nip it just snapped it right off. So the glue is not going to be strong enough to hold that. Well, let's try it. Let's see if I can just carefully nip this. Maybe one cut will do the trick. Okay. That seems okay. Let's see if it'll fit. Okay. That fit. It's got to flex quite a bit. So that does work. That seems alright. But yeah, you really got to pull on that. So I don't know. I guess that could work. I guess if I used a much smaller piece or was more careful cutting it, that could work. Yeah, actually that's not too bad. I don't know if it'll hold up for repeated transformations, but anyway, so I'm going to use plan B, or actually plan A for the other one. Now for this one you will need a, well, I recommend a Dremel. I guess you could use a drill, but actually not really, no, because depends what you're going to use. But I got, this is the smallest bit I could find. I used this in the past for another project. I had to order these from Amazon. These are, I don't know the size of these. They're like, I think it's 0.25 mil, maybe, or half a millimeter. They're very small, very tiny, very easy to break too. So I, you know, the little tab here where my other tab broke off. Let's see how good my camera is. You should be able to see two holes there. So I drilled two holes. They're a bit off center. I should have worn glasses while I was doing that. But anyway, I've got two tiny holes, and I have a safety pin here, which is nicely painted black already. So really across the pliers, and that's going to serve as our midpoint right there. Get it flat. It's under, so you can kind of form it into a stick. Oh no, I broke it in half. All right, paperclip method. We're going to get a standard size paperclip. We're going to use the small part inside. Try not to bend these too much because these will snap right apart. The small part is the right size to go into that little slot right there. The paperclip, we just need to trim. We're going to trim here and here. Make a little loop in that staple shape. Now these holes, might have to widen our hole a little bit. This, actually I'm going to have to drill a new hole because this is too wide. But it will fit through there. It's going to be like that, except, you know, farther in, and it will glue in place. Okay, I drilled 2 extra holes, so we have 4 holes in total, just to give myself some options. And I think we should be able to get it in there. There. Good. Okay, so we can glue that in. That should fit in there like that. Yeah, I think that's gonna work. All right, well that super glue has had time to dry now, so here we are. This is the one with the paper clip. So I just put a dollop of super glue in there and left it to dry overnight, and that seems pretty secure. Let's fold it back into place and put this on there, and that works pretty nicely, I think. Pretty nicely. So we can put the wheel back on. Wait, did I cut this one? Yes, I did. Should fit. And then here's the other one. I'm just going to leave this with the tab. I've cut it down to a much smaller size, so this actually locks in quite nicely and doesn't seem to be in any danger of snapping off. I think because it's small, you know, there's no leverage to have it snap off like when it was longer. I should have realized that at the beginning, but you know, this is sort of a process. So I think either of those options would be good. I feel like this paper clip is more secure, and I'm more confident that it's going to last. This little plastic bit is definitely much easier, but it actually feels secure enough to me. Actually, quite good. Oh, while I was at it, I also put a bit of floor polish in the hip joints here because that was a bit loose. Better close that down there. Let's be modest, shall we? Don't be showing off all the goods. And yeah, that is good. I also did one other thing with the fins up here. The way this works, this is just on a post that spins around. It would have been nice if they'd painted the top of this red to blend in with the car. So I've done that on this one over here. So I just took it off, put that back into place. I left the other one unpainted just so we could see the difference. So that should go like this, right? There we go. So now when it's tucked away, at least the top blends in better with the red of the car. The back I haven't painted because this part is the front. When you flip this over, that's got to face forward. I think it would look weird if that were red and the rest were blue. I guess you could paint the whole thing red if you want to, but I think this is good enough for me. I'm not going to look at the back very often, so that's another little fix you can do. Yeah, so I'm just going to leave it like that. These are two different options. I'm sorry for the extra stuff that I showed in the middle there. This is kind of a process. It's a bit hard to do these projects as a video because it's a work in progress, right? You sort of start off with an idea, and I want to show what the figure looks like initially so you can see the problem before I fix it, and then kind of go through the steps. And yeah, it doesn't always work out the way I planned it first. So I try to trim out all the stuff that you didn't need to see and not waste your time. But of course, give me any feedback in the comments if you think this is too long or if I missed anything or showed too much. I'm happy to take on that feedback. So let's just transform this and we'll see what she looks like. Okay, so here she is back into the vehicle mode, and we'll just take a look and see how this transformed. So here's the side with the plastic glued on, and it kind of fits into that notch actually, but I think we could do with a bit of a trim here. And then here's the paperclip side, which I did do the trimming on, and I think that's going to help, you know, avoid any problems with that colliding. So I will open this back up and just do a little trim to give that some extra room. I don't want to have this be a problem, but I think it worked out fine. Since we're in this mode, by the way, I understand the Trax version of this mold has a bit of a problem with these pieces tabbing in. There's a hole here that goes into a small peg on the front of the hood down there, and there is a fix for that. I guess they fixed it for road rage, but if you have the Trax version of this mold. So anyway, no need to go over that and step on their toes. You can look at those videos if you have Trax and you have that problem. But for this, I think that's a pretty good solution. Either of these works. Alright, so there's your road rage and or Trax transfixed. Thanks for watching, and I don't know how to end videos. Good night.